it doesn't take long for the battery, even if it's fully charged, for it to go to zero. So typically, unless you're driving super easy, the engine will run anyway. And right now, I mean, like 15 miles or so is the maximum. So you plug in the plug-in hybrid part, and then it will charge the battery to 100%. When you get in the vehicle, it'll say like 21 miles on electric battery. So it's just electric motor driving the vehicle if you drive really easy, and it's pretty cool. It does shift through the gears, so it's putting it through the transmission and everything, the electric power, and it doesn't have that instant torque feel like some, like electric car or something like that. It just propels it forward normally. But if you need the additional power and you push the accelerator, it will start the engine, and your engine will propel the vehicle from there. So right now I have 0 miles, but as far as the 0 miles, as far as the ability to drive electrically, but it's still, the engine is not running now. So it's able to charge it enough a little bit. Once it gets to 0, it's still able to charge it enough as you're driving to have a little bit of reserve usually available. And so it's kind of interesting that they have the plug-in part, considering it's very little miles, like 15 miles or so of actually electric driving. It seems to work most of the time anyway. I think if I were to own this vehicle, I will probably just forget about charging it and just drive it without charging it, because it still works as a hybrid anyway. So I'm not really 100% sure, the benefits. Now, if I was driving maybe a really short trip, like 10 miles or less, and I was really, really concerned about, fuel economy and stuff, then plugging it in might make sense. But as far as the overall, that part aside, the hybrid part, as far as just getting in, driving it and everything, it is a smooth vehicle. It has a different type of suspension. It's a little boaty. It's a little, kind of leany. It's not like super connected to the ground, which gives you that soft, cushy feeling as you're driving. So, okay, so now the engine just started. And it has a little bit of a delay. So when I put it in reverse and I push the accelerator, it kind of like has a little bit of delay, especially if it's running off electric. So if I'm driving and then I stop, typically the vehicle will turn off the gas motor and just sit there with the electric power. And when I push the accelerator, depending on how much electric the power is available, it'll start off with electricity, then go to gas. So what's happened is when I come to a complete stop, it goes to that, turns off the engine. And when I push the accelerator, it feels like it's kind of a little bit of a lag, and then I push a little bit harder because I'm not moving hardly at all. So I push a little bit more, and then all of a sudden, bam, it starts flying. So there's like this built up energy that is ready to just blast. But the problem is, if you're not used to that, then you can all of a sudden just like, when I back into a parking spot, I'm pushing the accelerator trying to back up, and it's not backing up it's like it's not going anywhere. Push the accelerator, and all of a sudden it just flies backwards. So it could be, there was, a little bit of a close call there, because I'm not accustomed to this vehicle, and it's like flooring it in reverse or forward. Forward is more easy to, to handle and all that stuff. But going in reverse, all of a sudden, if it just starts going really fast in reverse, that it's a little bit jarring and concerning. So let's go ahead and drive it down the road here. Now these are just kind of country roads right now, and I'll have some more driving footage of me on different roads with the different, so you can hear the road a little bit more. It is relatively quiet. Now you can hear some road noise depending on how bumpy the road is. has quite a bit of power. And you can hear the engine for sure when you accelerate, when the engine's running. It's a pretty loud engine actually, but man, does it have some power. And that was nowhere near the full amount of throttle. That was just accelerating a tad bit more than normal, I guess, and it just kind of really gives you that acceleration. I don't know if you notice the vehicle kind of like, tilted a little bit as I'm driving, accelerating there. That's part of that suspension system I was talking about. It's kind of floaty, which is not a bad thing because some people like that. Some people like that. They don't like to have that, feel every bump in the road and that kind of thing. So the more connected you are with the road, the more bumps you feel and the more potential road noise you might hear. So this one's a little bit disconnected from the road, and you can kind of feel that floatiness to it. So as these cars are going by, you can barely hear them go by. The outside noise is controlled pretty good. There is some wind noise right now, but it's not a big deal really. The brakes are really good. You can feel the suspension kind of taking a nose dive, kind of tilts the vehicle forward and back. When you accelerate, it tilts it back, and when you brake, it tilts it forward. And it leans on a turn as well. Now the cruise control is pretty good as far as the way it handles other cars with the adaptive cruise control, and the lane keep assist type system is pretty good. The only problem I see is that when I'm holding the steering wheel, I'm just kind of cruising along like this. I'm not like gripping it. I'm not like, like this. I'm just kind of like relaxed driving. It doesn't sense that I'm holding the steering wheel, and it has a lot of false alerts. It's telling me, hey, you got to hold the steering wheel. I'm like, I got two hands on the steering wheel. And it eventually will slow the vehicle down. It says, you hold the steering wheel or we're going to slow the vehicle down. And I'm like, I am holding the steering wheel, and I have to like jerk the steering wheel like that to get the system to recognize that I'm holding the steering wheel. So that's been kind of an issue. Other than that, it seems to work fine. It does keep a good safe distance, and it's relatively responsive without being too like some vehicles. The adaptive cruise control tries to keep you at a set distance like too harshly, towards like constantly speeding up, slowing down, and not having like a slow gradual follow. It's like too rigid with its corrections. That's kind of the way my Honda Ridgeline is. It's a little bit annoying to where at first I didn't even think I wanted to use the system because it was constantly patting the gas and stuff, and and slowing down and speeding up and all this stuff. And the person in front of me didn't look like they were moving at all. They were just like going a consistent speed. But this vehicle has a nice cushy, you know, like it'll allow you to get a little bit closer, stuff like that. But it'll gradually adjust your speeds without being to where it's not so annoying. It's really fine. Now the seats in this vehicle are nice, and they have a lot of articulation and adjustments and stuff, but they just don't work for me. The way they feel, I'm really kind of surprised because they look nice, and you know, at first they seem like they were going to be great seats, but for my particular situation, it just doesn't feel. They're rather uncomfortable for me. I'm just the way it is. I don't know why. The seats in the F-150 were great, so I'm not sure why these are drastically different for me. Another thing is, while I'm driving, the camera, so when you push it when you're just driving fast, it'll say, you know, it disabled the camera system. But when you're just kind of creeping through a parking lot and you need to look at the camera, it won't allow you to use it over, like, I think it's like 5 or 6 miles per hour. So if they were to increase that just a little bit more, because sometimes you need that camera when you're just, or it's useful anyway. You don't need it, but it is very useful if you were to, you're trying to, you know, navigate a little bit and you're trying to see where you're at in relationship to other things. To have that camera ability to turn the camera on even at maybe say up to 10 miles per hour or something like that, because it's just, it cuts off too fast. It's like you have to really be crawling like just a few miles, like under 5 or something like that, in order to use the camera. So that's a little bit of annoying thing that would be nice if they were to change. The sound system is really good. There's just one major problem with it. There is like some speaker grill or something rattling over there, and it just ruins the whole experience. I mean, you can tell it's a really nice sound system. Now, two things. One is that rattling, but also it's not evenly distributed, the sound. You can hear the speakers in my left ear like drowning out the rest of the sound. So I try to adjust it and everything, but it's just there's a speaker right here. It's a tweeter speaker to where it's like high pitched, and it's like right there in the back door, but it's right where my left ear is, so it kind of overpowers a lot of the other sounds. So it's not really evenly distributed as good as other vehicles, like say the F-150. It sounds like everything's equal, you know. You feel like you're fully immersed in the sound. This one, it's kind of directional, you know, but it is a good sound system. If the speaker grill or whatever it is rattling over there would be quiet, then it would be really good. I like the way the buttons on the steering wheel are backlit even during the day, so you can see them really nice and clear. They're like white, bright white against a black background is really nice. And also they change depending on what you're doing. They'll change the little icons there, which is pretty neat. The steering wheel comfort is nice, really good. I would say the visibility is pretty decent as well, all things considered.